Attached, the new science of adult attachment and how it can help you find and keep love, by Amir Levine, MD, and Rachel Heller, MA. Introduction. Have you ever met someone and felt an instant, almost electric connection? You spend a few weeks dating, and everything feels perfect. They say all the right things, they make you feel seen, and for the first time in a long time, you feel a glimmer of hope. A promise of not being alone. And then, something shifts. The calls become less frequent. The plans become more vague. You feel a sinking feeling in your stomach, a constant hum of anxiety. You start to question everything. Did I say something wrong? Am I not attractive enough? Am I not good enough? You find yourself checking your phone every few minutes, replaying conversations in your head, turning your own fears into a self-fulfilling prophecy that pushes them even further away. If any of that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And more importantly, you are not broken. For decades, we've been told that our success in love depends on our own self-sufficiency. That our happiness must come from within, and that needing someone else too much is a sign of weakness, of codependency. But what if I told you that was a myth? What if the need to be close to another person, to depend on them, isn't a flaw, but a biological imperative hardwired into your very genes for survival? That's the revolutionary idea at the heart of the book Attached, by psychiatrist Drive. Amir Levine and Rachel Heller. Published in 2010, this book didn't just offer new dating advice, it unveiled a hidden language of love, a scientific framework that explains nearly every dynamic in our romantic lives. It has since sold millions of copies and transformed the way a generation understands relationships, not as a game of chance, but as a predictable science. The authors discovered that we all have an attachment style, a specific way we perceive and respond to intimacy. And understanding this style is like being given a secret decoder ring for human connection. By the end of our time together today, you will not only understand your own hidden programming for love, but you'll also gain a kind of X-ray vision to see the patterns in others. You will finally understand why some relationships feel like a safe harbor, and others feel like a storm at sea. And most importantly, you'll learn the secret to navigating those waters to find the deep, secure love you were born to have. So, let's begin. Book summary. A few years ago, there was a reality TV show where couples raced around the world. One couple, Karen and Tim, seemed perfect. They were smart, attractive, and successful. But under pressure, the cracks in their relationship began to show. Karen wanted to get closer, but Tim valued his independence. At high-stress moments, Karen needed the simple reassurance of holding Tim's hand, but he would hesitate, feeling it was needy. After they narrowly lost the race, Karen blamed herself. "I think we lost because I was too needy," she said. "Why did I need to hold his hand so much? That was silly." She, like so many of us, believed the problem was her dependency. But the science of attachment tells us a completely different story. Drive. Amir Levine argues that Karen's assumption is simply wrong. We are not designed to self-soothe in the face of stress. We are biologically wired to turn to our partner for support. Getting attached means our brain becomes programmed to seek their closeness. If they fail to reassure us, our brain doesn't just give up, it doubles down, continuing its attempts to achieve closeness until that safety is restored. This brings us to the first great revelation of this book, what the authors call the dependency paradox. For generations, we've been taught that to be strong, you must be independent. But attachment science reveals the opposite is true. The more securely connected and dependent we are on another person, the more independent, daring, and exploratory we become. Think about a small child at a playground. This was demonstrated in a groundbreaking study called the Strange Situation Test. A toddler, let's call her Kimmy, is in a room full of new, exciting toys. As long as her mother is sitting in the corner of the room, Kimmy feels free to explore. She crawls around, picks up toys, and plays with confidence, occasionally glancing back to make sure her mom is still there. Her mother is her secure base. But the moment her mother leaves the room, Kimmy becomes distraught. The toys are no longer interesting. Her entire world narrows to one mission: find Mom. She crawls to the door, crying, banging on it. Her attachment system has been activated. A friendly researcher tries to distract her with a colorful toy, but Kimmy just gets more agitated. Then, her mother returns. Kimmy rushes to her. They embrace, and within moments, she is calm. Once she feels safe again, her interest in the world reawakens. She goes back to playing with the toys. The lesson here is profound. As adults, we are no different from Kimmy. Our partner is our secure base. When we know, with 100% certainty, that we have someone we can count on, someone who has our back, our attachment system calms down. We are then free to turn our attention outward, to our careers, our hobbies, our creativity, and our dreams. We can take risks and explore the world. But if we are unsure whether the person closest to us will be there for us, our attachment system goes on high alert. Like Kimmy, we can't focus on anything else. We become preoccupied with the relationship, constantly seeking reassurance. So, dependency isn't weakness. A healthy, effective dependency is the very foundation of strength. The problem isn't needing someone. The problem is who you're needing. This is where it gets really interesting. The authors explain that our need for connection is universal, but the way we go about creating that connection varies. This is our attachment style, and it governs our behavior in love. There are three main styles. The first is the secure attachment style. About 50% of the population is secure. These are the supermates of evolution. Being warm and loving comes naturally to them. They're comfortable with intimacy and aren't overly worried about their relationships. They communicate their needs effectively and are good at reading and responding to their partner's needs. They are the emotional bedrock of a relationship. The second is the anxious attachment style, which makes up about 20% of people. People with an anxious style crave intimacy and are often preoccupied with their relationships. They tend to worry about their partner's ability to love them back. They have a super-sensitive attachment system, like a smoke detector that goes off at the slightest hint of trouble. Even a small change in their partner's mood or a text that goes unanswered can send them into a spiral of worry. The third is the avoidant attachment style, which accounts for about 25% of the population. Avoidant people equate intimacy with a loss of independence. They feel uncomfortable with too much closeness and constantly try to maintain distance, both emotionally and physically. They value their autonomy above all else and tend to keep their partners at arm's length. Now, you might think you're one of these styles. But what's fascinating is how they interact. Let's return to that story from the beginning, the one about the perfect new relationship that slowly turns into an anxious nightmare. The authors tell the story of their friend Tamara, who fell for a man named Greg. He was good-looking, charming, and said things that promised togetherness, like "you can call me anytime." He made her feel like she wouldn't be alone. But Greg also sent mixed messages. He mentioned that he'd never had a stable relationship, that he always grew tired of his girlfriends and needed to move on. Tamara, believing that love conquers all, ignored these red flags. As they got closer, Greg started pulling away. He was suddenly too busy to meet. He'd become distant and critical. Tamara's attachment system went into overdrive. She became preoccupied with his whereabouts, hypersensitive to any sign he might be pulling away. She lost interest in her work, her friends, her life. Her world shrank to the size of her relationship with Greg. Tamara was anxious. Greg was avoidant. And they were caught in what the authors call the anxious-avoidant trap. This is the most common and volatile pairing in the dating world, and it creates a perfect storm of emotional turmoil. Here's how it works. The anxious person, sensing distance, activates their attachment system. They try to get closer to their partner for reassurance. They might call more, text more, or seek physical affection. These are called activating strategies, any thought or feeling that compels you to reestablish closeness. But to the avoidant person, this attempt at closeness feels like a threat to their independence. It triggers their own defense mechanism, deactivating strategies. These are any thoughts or behaviors used to squelch intimacy. They might start focusing on their partner's small flaws, the way they chew, a word they mispronounce. They might pine for a phantom ex, an idealized past lover who seems perfect now that they're safely in the past. They might flirt with others, or simply withdraw emotionally, becoming cold and distant. This withdrawal, of course, sends the anxious person's attachment system into an even greater panic. They ramp up their activating strategies, which only makes the avoidant partner pull away even further. It's a vicious cycle where each person's natural instinct exacerbates the other's deepest fears. For the anxious person, this cycle is intoxicatingly painful. The avoidant partner's inconsistency, pulling away, then offering just enough affection to keep them hooked, creates an emotional roller coaster. The brief moments of closeness feel like an incredible high, and the lows of distance are devastating. After a while, the anxious person starts to mistake this roller coaster of anxiety and relief for passion. They get programmed to be attracted to the very people who are least likely to make them happy. Why does this happen so often? Simple math. Secure people, once they find a good partner, tend to settle down and stay in long-term, happy relationships. They are taken out of the dating pool. Avoidant people, on the other hand, end relationships more frequently and get over them quickly. They are constantly being recycled back into the dating pool. And studies show that avoidants rarely date other avoidants. There's no emotional glue to hold them together. So, who are they dating? You guessed it, people with an anxious attachment style. The dating pool is disproportionately filled with avoidants, making it a minefield for the anxious person looking for a secure connection. This brings us to one of the most counterintuitive insights in the book. If you have an anxious style, what happens when you finally meet someone who is secure? You probably feel bored. A secure person is consistent. They call when they say they will. They are straightforward about their feelings. They don't play games. There are no mixed messages, no drama, no emotional roller coaster. For someone accustomed to equating an activated attachment system with love, this calmness can feel like a lack of chemistry. The spark is missing. And so, tragically, they might let the perfect partner pass them by, holding out for the familiar, painful excitement of the chase. The lonesome traveler, the person with an avoidant style, presents a different kind of puzzle. They might seem strong, self-sufficient, and independent, like the adventurer Chris McCandless from the book Into the Wild, who ventured into the Alaskan wilderness to live completely on his own. Like McCandless, the avoidant person idealizes self-sufficiency and looks down on dependency. But are they really immune to the need for connection? Science says no. In a clever study, researchers flashed words on a screen and measured how quickly people recognized them. Avoidants were very slow to recognize words related to their own attachment worries, like loss or separation. They were literally repressing them. But when the researchers distracted them with a second task, like solving a puzzle, the avoidance defenses dropped. Suddenly, they recognized those threatening words just as quickly as anyone else. The takeaway is powerful. Avoidant people have the same fundamental need for connection. Their attachment machinery is still there, but they spend an immense amount of mental energy actively suppressing it. Their independence is not a sign of strength, but a defense mechanism. It's a full-time job keeping love at arm's length. Tragically, just before he died alone in the wilderness, Chris McCandless wrote a final entry in his journal: "Happiness only real when shared." It's a lesson that many people with an avoidant style learn far too late. So what can be done? If you're anxious, are you doomed to chase unavailable partners? If you're avoidant, are you destined to a life of lonely self-sufficiency? Absolutely not. And this is where the book becomes a truly practical guide. The authors say that your attachment style is stable but plastic. It tends to stay consistent, but it can change. You can learn to become more secure. For the person with an anxious style, the path to security begins with a radical act of self-acceptance. Your needs are legitimate. Your desire for intimacy, for reassurance, for dependability, these are not flaws. They are your core requirements for happiness in a relationship. Stop apologizing for them. Instead of asking, "How can I change myself to please this person?" you must start asking, "Can this person provide what I need to be happy?" This requires learning to spot the smoking guns of an avoidant partner early on. Mixed messages. Idealizing a phantom ex. Disregarding your emotional well-being. Suggesting you're too needy or too sensitive. These aren't quirks to be overlooked. They are deal breakers. The authors also suggest a powerful strategy called the abundance philosophy. If you have an anxious style, you tend to get attached very quickly. You meet someone you like, and instantly, they become your only hope for love. This activates your attachment system and clouds your judgment. By dating several people at once in the early stages, you keep your attachment system from locking onto a single person. It allows you to evaluate potential partners more objectively. You're less likely to tolerate bad behavior from one person when you have several others who are treating you with respect. It desensitizes your attachment system and gives you the clarity to choose wisely. But the master skill, the one that both anxious and avoidant people can learn from the secure, is effective communication. Secure people don't play games. They don't use protest behavior or deactivating strategies. They express their needs directly and non-accusatorially. Imagine your partner does something that hurts you. If you're anxious, your instinct might be to use protest behavior, give them the silent treatment, or try to make them jealous. If you're avoidant, you might withdraw and deactivate, telling yourself they're just not right for you. A secure person would do neither. They would use the 5 principles of effective communication. 1. Wear your heart on your sleeve. Be genuine and honest about your feelings. 2. Focus on your needs. Use phrases like "I feel," "I need," and "I want." For example, instead of saying, "You never spend time with me," you would say, "I feel lonely when we don't have quality time together. I need us to plan a date night this week." 3. Be specific. Clearly state the action that is bothering you. 4. Don't blame. Never make your partner feel selfish or incompetent. This isn't about winning an argument, it's about being understood. 5. Be assertive and non-apologetic. Your needs are valid. Period. When you communicate this way, one of 2 things will happen. A secure or willing partner will respond with care. They will listen to your concerns and work with you to find a solution. An avoidant or unwilling partner will feel uncomfortable. They will likely dismiss your feelings, become defensive, or withdraw. Either way, you win. You either bring your relationship to a deeper, more secure level, or you get a crystal clear sign that this person is unable to meet your needs, saving you months or even years of heartache. This leads us to the final, and perhaps most difficult, part of the journey. What to do when a relationship becomes truly harmful. The authors share the harrowing story of Marcia and Craig. Craig was deeply avoidant, and Marcia was deeply anxious. Their relationship was a textbook example of the trap at its most destructive. Craig constantly belittled her, compared her unfavorably to his ex, kept their relationship a secret in public, and pushed her away at every turn. Why did she stay? Because her attachment system was so powerfully activated. The pain of leaving felt greater than the pain of staying. In a breakup, our brain registers the loss of an attachment figure in the same areas that register physical pain. It's like breaking a leg. And once separated, our minds become flooded with only the good memories, making it incredibly tempting to go back. Marcia was only able to leave when she finally, truly gave up hope that Craig could change. She began to unconsciously use deactivating strategies herself, focusing on his flaws, emotionally detaching, to prepare for the separation. And even then, it was one of the hardest things she ever did. Her story is a stark reminder that your self-worth should never be up for negotiation. A secure relationship should make you feel more confident, not less. It should give you peace of mind, not a constant state of anxiety. If it doesn't, that is your wake-up call. Commentary. As we come to the end of our journey through Attached, it's hard not to feel a sense of profound clarity. This book is more than just a relationship guide, it's a manual for the human heart. It takes the confusing, often painful, chaos of love and gives it a name, a structure, and a science. In a world of swiping left or right, of ghosting and breadcrumbing, the principles of attachment theory have never been more relevant. It gives us a language to understand why we feel so anxious when someone leaves us on red, or why we feel the urge to pull away just when things are getting good. It explains that these aren't personal failings, they are ancient biological programs running in the background. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the shift in perspective it demands. For so long, the narrative has been about self-love as the prerequisite for partner love. We've been told to fix ourselves first, to become a whole and complete person on our own before we can be happy with someone else. Attached gently but firmly dismantles that myth. It tells us that our need for others is not something to be overcome, but something to be understood and honored. It reframes dependency not as a disease, but as a feature of our humanity. The goal isn't to stop needing people, it's to find the right people to need. So, how can you begin to apply these powerful ideas in your own life, starting today? First, simply identify your style. As you've listened to these descriptions, which one felt most like home? Are you the vigilant lover, always scanning for threats? Are you the lonesome traveler, guarding your independence? Or are you the secure anchor? Just having this self-awareness is the first, most crucial step. It's not about judging yourself, it's about understanding your own operating system. Second, practice one small act of effective communication. This week, find a moment with a friend, a family member, or your partner. Instead of hinting at what you need, try stating it directly, using the principles we talked about. Start with something simple. I feel a little disconnected lately. I need us to have some one-on-one time without phones this weekend. See how it feels to be direct, and pay close attention to their response. It will tell you everything you need to know. And third, look for your secure role models. Think about a couple you know who seem genuinely happy and supportive of one another. Watch them. How do they talk to each other? How do they handle disagreements? How do they celebrate each other's successes? Start building a mental library of what a secure bond looks like in the real world. This will recalibrate your expectations and show you what is possible. In the end, the journey to a secure, loving relationship isn't about becoming someone you're not. It's about understanding who you are at your core and having the courage to honor your needs. It's about realizing that choosing a partner is one of the most important decisions you will ever make for your health and happiness. And it's about knowing that you deserve to feel safe, to feel seen, and to have a secure base from which you can launch yourself into the world and become everything you were meant to be. Dash. That was a summary of Attached by Amir, Levine and Rachel Heller. We've walked through the architecture of love today, but a blueprint is not the same as living in the house. This summary is your map, but the real treasure is found by taking the journey yourself. If you felt a spark of recognition in these stories, if you've seen yourself or your relationships in a new light, I truly encourage you to pick up a copy of Attached. It's one of those rare books that doesn't just give you information, it gives you a new lens through which to see the world, and more importantly, to see yourself. The link is waiting for you in the description. Also, if our time together has brought you some clarity or a new idea, the best way you can say thank you is by hitting that subscribe button. It tells us we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next exploration into a book that has the power to change your life. Let's continue this journey of learning together.